What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsYJr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Come on into the room. Come in and leave what city, who you are, what city you're from, what team you rep, what city you're from, what team you rep. Come on into the room. Hit the like button, share the broadcast. We're going to have a good time tonight because I posted a video earlier and it got a lot of feedback, a lot of stuff. And I went ahead, I only posted a snippet, but I went ahead and watched the full video for 100% context. So sit back, relax, buckle up your seatbelts. We're going to talk about it right after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsYJr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for coming on in, because today we're going to be talking about on a late night. Shout out to y'all for staying up late with me. We're almost at 9 o'clock on the East Coast, but I'll give you a chance. We're going to try something out. I got this call-in number. This call-in number is 727-73-731-8723. If you want to call in and give your opinion, because we're going to be dissecting tradition. What did I call this? I even forgot what I was calling it. Tradition versus winning in HBCU sports. Tradition versus winning. And the reason why I say that is because tradition is something that's brought up a whole lot when you talk about what's taking place with Jackson State and what they're doing. A shout out to Albany State in the building. Shout out to Reginald, Albany State. And the reason why I say this is because earlier today I posted a clip from a podcast called the UNCORK'D Podcast. And shout out to the UNCORK'D Podcast because, you know, it's their thing and I don't want to throw any shots. But they posted a clip that went viral on TikTok. And the clip that they posted that went viral on TikTok spoke about Deion Sanders. And I think that all the guys are JSU alums or they have ties to JSU. And it was 4 guys, but it was one guy on there. His name was James, and he just went in on Coach Prime. He ain't a fan of Coach Prime. He ain't really crazy about what's going on. And most of it is because Coach Prime is coming in, bringing in new things that aren't what he considers quote unquote traditional. And that's when he had that little funny comment about how he thinks, shout out to y'all, man. Cali in the building, JSU from Cali is in the building. Shout out to you guys, man. Drusilla always showing good love and support. But his thing was that Coach Prime's bringing in all these new players and turned over the roster and doing all this stuff that isn't traditional to the JSU that he went to. And he didn't like that Coach Prime has celebrities on the sideline because he feels like they're fair weather fans and they're only fans. They're not fans because they truly love Jackson State. They're fans because of who Jackson State head coach is. And he doesn't like all of that because he feels like, you know, when Prime leaves, all of that stuff is going to leave with him. What he failed to mention is, though, whenever Deion Sanders could be at Jackson State another 30 years. Like, we don't know. Like, and that's the thing. Because Deion Sanders is such a high-profile coach, and because he's doing things that no one else has ever done, everybody's expecting him to leave in somewhat soon. They all expect him to leave in short manner, very, very soon. And so none of us really knows when he's going to leave, if he's going to leave. And so the problem is that the James guy over on UNCORK'D was saying, hey, man, when he leaves, all of that stuff is going to leave too. The thing that he failed to mention, though, is that whenever Prime decides to hang it up and decides to leave Jackson State, whenever that time may be, he's leaving a better job than what he got. He's leaving there with new facilities, new football fields, new jerseys. He's not packing that stuff up with him and taking them wherever he goes. He's leaving the job better than he found it. And so, therefore, some of the institutions that have been built by Deion Sanders will stay there way past Deion Sanders. These things, he can't pack up the Walter Payton Center and take it with him. He can't pack up all the jerseys, all the helmet combinations, all the stuff. He can't take that stuff with him. It stays with you. And so, therefore, whoever your next coach is, and whenever that may be, is walking into a situation that's light years ahead of the job that Deion Sanders took. And so therefore your chances of landing another high profile coach. Now you can't land another Deion Sanders. He's one of one. He's the only one. But the chances of you landing another high profile coach are skyrocketed because those potential high profile coaches know what can be done after watching Deion Sanders. And they're not walking in to a team with a football field that has potholes. They're not walking in to a team with a football field that if it rains, you can't practice there. They're not walking into a team with a football field and a football team who doesn't have names on the back of their jerseys or doesn't have multiple jersey combinations or that don't have X, Y, and Z. Like you're walking into a better situation. You're walking into a better situation. And so it goes to the whole winning versus tradition. Another thing that the man on the UNCORK'D Podcast, Mr. James, he didn't like was the fact that there's only, what he said, now I didn't fact check it, but he's saying there's only 10 players from the state of Mississippi that are on the roster. 10 players from the state of Mississippi that are on the roster. And he's saying at other big-time college football programs, you're going to find way more than 10 players from that state on the roster. Here's a couple of things. One, the state of Mississippi is full of talent. I'm not going to act like it. There's a ton of talent in Mississippi, a ton of talent in Alabama, a ton of talent in Georgia and Florida are just ridiculous. Louisiana, per capita, Louisiana actually is like top 3 when it comes to producing NFL players, meaning the density of the population. Not many people in the state of Louisiana, but the percentages are skyrocket, super high when it comes to sending guys to D1 and then onto the NFL. So Louisiana's like one of the top 3 in the entire country, right up there with like Florida and Georgia, but Louisiana's right up there. But here's the thing. When you coach in Mississippi, you're going to have to go get players from outside the state if you want to compete at the highest level that you can possibly compete at. Now, if you want to just be the best in the state, if you want to beat Southern Miss and you want to beat Tougaloo College or whatever, then yeah, you can have a roster full of Mississippians. And this is no disrespect to Mississippi. I'm from the state of Kentucky. If University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville, if they want to be able to compete in the SEC and the ACC, they got to recruit outside the state. They got to get players from Florida. They got to get players from Georgia. They got to get players. Now they're getting Louisville, getting a bunch of players from California. I think that NIL got something to do with that. But you got to get players from everywhere that aren't like super rich, prominent football states. You got to go outside the state to recruit. And so in Prime's case, the best players available just happen to not be from Mississippi. They happen to not be from the state of Mississippi. And so therefore, you have to be able to capitalize and do things that aren't being done. Shout out to you guys for in the building. You can call in 727-731-8723, 727-731-8723. And so what I'm saying is, how do you, as you guys, you're the audience, you're the HBCU alums, you're the guys and gals that support JSU. How do you feel? And the biggest thing when it came to the young man on the UNCORK'D Podcast, Mr. James, is that he didn't like also his final shebang was that Deion Sanders is an outsider. He said Coach Prime is an outsider. He doesn't get us. He doesn't get the core, the base of Mississippi. He doesn't get what we like, what we love, what we want to do. And so therefore, he doesn't get us. And I don't like him because of that. And to that I say, man, clearly whatever your tradition was from 2013 to 2019, it wasn't getting the job done. It just wasn't. In the last 10, you hadn't won a SWAC East title in a decade. You hadn't won a SWAC title since 2007? You hadn't won a SWAC title since 2007. The guy on the UNCORK'D show sounded uncorked, couldn't believe he was saying that. And the thing is, he did it for 20 minutes. I thought at some point he was going to let up, right? I thought at some point he was going to give in because his buddies, and that's the thing. That's why I had to go watch the full thing, because the guys from UNCORK'D actually commented on my video that I did earlier. And they were like, you got to watch the full thing for context. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take you up on that offer. And I went and watched the full thing. And in the video in its entirety, he was the only one sounding deranged. I thought it was I was like, yo, I thought they were all on that. But even in the short clip that I showed, you see the guy in the background shaking his head like, no. And I didn't mention that earlier. But he was like, no. And then in the video, it backed up the fact that he was like, no, that ain't, no, dog. And it sounds like all the men were from Mississippi. Sounds like all of them might even went to Jackson State. Was a guy off camera who was talking a lot there, and then there were the 4 men during the podcast. And the one young man, like I said, his name was James. He just seemed to like not be feeling Coach Prime's speed, and that's the thing. Deion Sanders is a eccentric personality. Like he isn't someone. He's someone, and he's going to light up the room as soon as he walks in. And that's the thing. When he says a lot of this tradition talk, when he says he don't care about the tradition, that's the thing James said. He's talking about guys like James. When Prime's talking about, man, this tradition talk that y'all be saying, that ain't it. He's talking about the Jameses of the world. Because the thing is, you know, even when I hear him say, oh, I ain't really with all the tradition stuff, even I kind of cringe a little bit. I'd be like, dang, like I seem a little harsh, you know, to just say you don't care about the tradition. But at the end of the day, it's not his job to care about the tradition. His job is to go out there and win football games. And then taking it a step further, to him, his job also includes making his young men professionals. Not just all going to the NFL. He wants to put as many guys in the NFL as possible as well, but to make guys professionals at life, professional men, to really want to go out and do something and strive for something. That's a part of his job. His job ain't supposed to be making 50% of the roster from the state of Mississippi. That ain't his job. That ain't in his requirement. His job is to go out there and win football games. And if the players from outside of your state help you win football games the most, then guess what? You're doing your job right. Because even in any college, in any school, there's players from outside their state. And a lot of times at some of those colleges, their best players are from outside of their state. Let's use the number 1 team in the country, or the team that always goes to the championship, Alabama. Their 2 best players, Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Bryce Young's from California. Will Anderson is from Georgia. They're not from Alabama. Ohio State. Their best player is C.J. Stroud. He's from California. He's not from Ohio. Their second best, or one of the other best, the running back, Travion Henderson, he's from like Pennsylvania or something. Like he's not from Ohio. JT Tuimoloau, their highest ranked recruit, he's from Washington. Marvin Harrison Jr. is from Pennsylvania. You get what I'm saying? Like your best players don't have to come from your state. 50% of your roster doesn't have to come from the state. That was the craziest argument I ever heard in my life. That didn't make any sense. Your job is to go out there and win football games. Let me read some of your comments. I think we need to focus more on JSU competition, not Prime leaving. Why is okay? So let's talk about the competition thing. And I'm glad you brought this up. Shout out to LOL. Because I do think too many people focus too much on the fact that they think he's leaving whenever, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I think too much of the conversation is centered around him leaving. Now, about the competition thing, a lot of people, there's one guy, I can't even think of his name right now. There's a guy that's always in my comments talking about Jackson State's competition is weak. They play the weakest schedule in the SWAC. They don't play anybody. They don't do this. They don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. And they don't play Power 5 schools. They don't play, a high-level FCS schools. I think I've talked about this before. I think there's a few reasons why that they haven't up until this point in Coach Prime's tenure at JSU. Well, we know why they don't play Power 5 schools. He feels like they're at a disadvantage in the trenches. He feels like, and which is true, they are at a disadvantage in the trenches. They're at a disadvantage in as far as scholarship numbers, and he feels like he don't want to take his team to go get beat up on. They're not at the level of Ohio State right now. They're not at the level in Alabama right now. They're not. They're not. They would go out there, even this JSU team, as good as they are, they'd go out there and play Alabama and get beat by 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns. They get beat by 3 or 4 touchdowns by Ohio State. It's just that plain and simple. So, when it comes to the competition piece, and this is just my opinion. I haven't spoken to anybody at Jackson State. This is simply just my opinion, okay? Opinion. I think Coach Prime wants to build up his program for a few years. Yes, for a few years. You got to think, the man was hired September of 2019, right? September 2019? Or was it September 2020? Well, regardless, it's been like 2.5 years. And so some of these programs that people are suggesting he go play, the North Dakota States of the world, they've been established. They've been winning FCS national championships over the last decade. They are an established group. They have established pipelines of recruiting. They haven't had the same coach over the last decade, but the same formula has been there. They put guys in the top half of the first round. Like, allow him to get a chance to get to that point. I think in 2 years or 3 years, you'll see JSU play some of the high-level FCS teams. I do believe that. I think you'll see it. I think you will. But why rush it? You're not hurting for money. I mean, you're doing better than most when it comes to money because your coach has the innate ability to market not just himself, but his players and his team. You're getting more TV games. Your conference. I think people are underestimating the fact that the conference is now under good leadership. And so, therefore, the conference as a whole has more sponsorship dollars and advertising dollars and marketers and endorsements than it's ever had in recent history. So that matters. Getting your conference making some money matters. January 2019. Thank you, Veronica. January 2019. And so, therefore, with your conference making more money, that means your schools will make more money. And with your schools making more money, that means your football programs will have more money. And with that football programs having more money, you'll see better facilities, which lead to better uniforms, which also lead to better performances on the field, which also leads to better players. And so allow for some of that matriculation to take place. Because right now, JSU can afford not to take a $500,000 money game, $450,000 money game, $550,000 money game. They can afford to not do that. And that'll save them some injuries. That'll save them the embarrassment. That'll help keep their team morale. All of those things. Quite literally all of those things. And so I don't mind that. But the whole tradition versus winning, because the tradition that JSU had, because these guys were JSU alums, the tradition that they had was losing. It was recent. Let me say recent, because I don't want to offend anybody that's talking about the golden days. But recently, it was losing. From 13 to when Prime got here, it was losing. That's why you had to go out and hire Deion Sanders. Now, where Jackson State, when it comes to Jackson State gets all the benefit of having a Coach Prime, but they wouldn't be able to get that benefit if they didn't give him the job. Where Ashley Robinson and the Jackson State administration deserve a ton of credit is the fact that they were the ones that fell on the sword and hired an unproven Deion Sanders. He was unproven. Anybody could have guessed that he'd be able to get advertising dollars and recruit. Anybody could have guessed that. But they took the chance of hiring a former player who had only been an offensive coordinator at the high school level to come in and be their Division I head coach. They took that chance, and at the time, it was a chance. You don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, you have an idea. You have an idea, but you don't know. How could you know? How could you know? Yes. Okay. Hired in September 20. That's why I thought it was two years just the other day. So 2 years, September 2020. So yeah, September of 2020. But it's what I'm saying. JSU took the chance. Oh, it looks like we got some calls. So hold on 1 second. Let me get this going. Oh, got some people in the room. Let me because we got to talk about it, folks. We got to talk about it. Let me do that. Boom. All right, 1 second. Hello, are you there?
Maya, LOL.
LOL. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
We're good. So we're on here talking about tradition versus winning. How do you feel about the conversation tonight? What's your thoughts?
I think tradition is out the door. This is 2022. Tradition is out the door. We're about winning. We're about getting the players that we need to get us where we need to be. And I think tradition, we love our moms and dads and all the other stuff that they did back in college. But at the end of the day, it is about winning. And what kind of irks me right now is the fact that time has brought JSU to the forefront. And everybody wants to get on this bandwagon. And it's okay. But at the end of the day, I don't like the fact that you guys are constantly talking about him leaving. Like, I know he has to go one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
But Prime is not about the money. It's not about the money for Prime.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been about the money.
Can't be.
It's about bringing that kind of play or what he's learned in his path to black youth, black players, and to give back something. And I think this hatred that a lot of people have when people try to make it, it's like a crab in the barrel. And I know I'm probably reaching out further, but at the end of the day, it's like people are coming at him now because he is so successful now. I mean, he's been successful, but now that he's successful, you see all these other people coming in and saying all kind of stuff. And it kind of just makes me upset when people talk about him. Oh, we know Prime is going to leave. There was a guy on TikTok. I don't know if you saw the video.
Yeah.
Have you saw the video?
Which one?
Calling him a coon.
Oh, yeah. No. So that's what we're talking about. That it was on that UNCORK'D podcast where they said the coon stuff. And so let me make sure everybody can hear you. Yeah, they said the coon stuff. Let me hold on. Trying to make sure everybody can hear.
Prime was he's a coon. And when he leaves, he's going to leave, and everything is just going to be dismantled. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like you said, I heard when you said he can't take everything with him. He doesn't want to take anything with him. He wants to contribute to the state of Mississippi, JSU, and he wants to contribute to those boys.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the call. Appreciate you calling in. The thing is, you're absolutely right. When let me make sure. The thing about Deion Sanders is, like you said, he can't take everything with him. Could you guys hear it? Make sure you guys can hear it. I was trying to make sure you guys can hear, but she was absolutely right. A lot of people talk about when he's going to leave because he is so dynamic, because he's so awesome at what he does, because of the great things that he's been able to do in just a short amount of time. But all at the same time, the tradition stuff, like, I just want to know what tradition, like, the only thing that the guy James was able to say was that he wants more Mississippians on the roster and that he doesn't like the fact that Prime openly talks about not caring about tradition. And I can understand that to somewhat, right? Because like I said, even when I first heard Prime say, and it's not necessarily an actual action that he doesn't like. Like, it wasn't an actual action that he didn't like at all. I don't know, man. This is going to be interesting to see how Deion Sanders is going to continue to be vilified, because in some ways, part of it is going to be because he's about to do damage on a lot of these SWAC teams. I mean, he did damage to FAMU 59-3. He did damage to Grambling, beat them by 42 points. There's about to be more damage done with Valley this weekend, because Valley is going to get kind of ugly kind of quick. I mean, we're just being honest. If they don't come mess around like they did against Grambling, it could get ugly really quick. This team is beating teams by 37 points per game. 37 points per game on average. They're scoring almost 50 points per game while only giving up 10 points per game. So I think with the Valley stuff, I think I'm gonna say Valley. I think they finally got the right quarterback. No offense to Coach Dancy, but I felt like Jamar Jones should have been playing all year long. I think they finally got the quarterback, and I also think that SWAC teams and different people and different they're gonna find a way to try to vilify Deion Sanders because of what he's about to do to the rest of the teams on the schedule. That's just my thoughts. But shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to the first ever caller. We'll do more call-in shows. We had our first caller ever. Got to make sure all the technical stuff is going good. Make sure all the technical stuff is going good moving forward. Thank you all for tuning in on the late night. Once again, my name is JeffLightsyJr. with the Black Boss Channel and Victor Formation. You can hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Shout out to you guys for tuning in on the late night, and I will see you next time. Peace.